How you guys doing? This is Mike the Star Turtle. And today I'm going to be reviewing probably one of my favorite movies. No, not probably. One of my favorite movies, no doubt. Tora, Tora, Tora. It is an historical docudrama about the prelude, everything leading up to and including the attack on Pearl Harbor. Massive Japanese air raid against the U.S. naval base and army base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. It is, of course, the event that ended with the event which, of course, the United States ended World War II. So, I love this movie. I really do. This is probably one of my favorite movies. So basically starts out in 1941, early 1941, when Admiral Yamamoto, pretty much Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, becomes potentially the commander in chief of the Imperial Japanese Navy, and he's a guy who knows that Japan, because this is the time when Japan has taken over Korea, Manchuria, is currently fighting a war in China, and is in a very imperialistic, nationalistic state. The old samurai code pretty much dominating everyone's minds. Yep. So Yamamoto is now in charge of the Japanese Navy, and he does not he does not want a war with the United States, but he knows that the war is probably going to be inevitable. He's definitely what his plan is. He knows that he can't defeat the U.S. in a prolonged war because we just have too many resources. So he comes with a plan to basically just knows the U.S. fleet has been mostly moved. U.S. Pacific fleet at least has been mostly moved to Hawaii at Pearl Harbor, and he wants to basically devise a plan to pretty much destroy the entire fleet while it's at anchor, and essentially, basically, I guess they get the U.S. to sue for peace or sign some kind of non-aggression pact. That was his plan. That was what he intended to do, because he knew he hoped to not get us involved at all, because like I said, he knew Japan would lose. But he's a smart guy. He actually studied in the United States for a little bit too, so he knew what was going on. Fortunately, a lot of the people in the government were not. So sooner or later, he was pushed to pretty much go through with the plan. But basically him, a few other key figures, one of his proteges, Minoru Genda. Minoru Genda. Basically two of them, a couple other people, but those are the two biggest people, the ones who came up with the whole plan and devised all the different stuff. They were They were doing some stuff that never been done before. They came up with a special technique. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they want to come up with the technique or not, but they were able to modify their torpedoes, dropping torpedo planes to not sink so deep when they were dropped, because Pearl Harbor was shallow. So they came up with a way to keep the torpedoes from sinking so much while being dropped, so they could torpedo ships in the harbor. The plan to pretty much use 6 different aircraft carriers, because this is the time when the whole idea about the aircraft carrier and whether or not the plane in conjunction was an effective naval weapon and all that kind of stuff. Like the first time when the British aircraft carrier launched an air raid against a Italian naval base at Toronto, sunk 4 Italian battleships, which was referenced in this movie. It was probably the first successful air raid of that type. And of course, the Japanese, of course, would do this on a scale, it's a massive scale. Not at least as far as naval air raid of that from an aircraft carriers. No one had ever done anything like this before, so it was a huge deal. Of course, back over at Pearl Harbor, nobody really knows. There's some people who definitely suspect the war is on the horizon, but even those people are convinced that there won't ever be the Japanese will never go that far and actually attack Hawaii directly. At least not like not with the not early in the war if it does happen. And over in Washington, people are even more confused. They've got this movie is probably one of the most historically accurate movies ever made. It's not. It's still a docudrama. They still have to condense certain things, and they leave out certain elements. But for the most part, this is a pretty dead on. Like if you're doing a history report about World War II or the attack on Pearl Harbor specifically, this is a must watch. Like seriously. But yeah, so like over in the mainland U.S., they've got this special system that can actually intercept and decode the Japanese codes that are signal codes that are being transmitted around the world. Japanese don't even know this. I don't know if they even figured it out till like really late in the war, but you know, they know that like they also know what's going on, but there's still a lot of political red tape over there that's kind of preventing people over in Hawaii from getting the full story. Like people in the U.S. forces in Hawaii just basically trying to basically going through the motions. Most of them they're mostly concerned about sabotage because since at the time there's a whole bunch of Japanese immigrants in Hawaii, and the U.S. Army commander in Hawaii, of course, had that really horrible decision to keep all the planes tightly together so they could be guarded from sabotage. But yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm a bit of a World War II history buff, in addition to being a movie buff. So that's why I love the hell of this movie. Yeah, the Martin Balsam, who, for those not familiar with him, he was the fired train engineer from Taking of Pelham 123. He plays Admiral Kimmel, who at the time was in charge of the U.S. Pacific Forces, U.S. Navy forces, and he's pretty good in the role. What's his name? Gee, I'm forgetting his name. Jason Robards. Yeah, he plays the Army General Short. He's good. Both him and Balsam are both pretty good in the roles. They don't. Most of the stuff is on. Most of the stuff in America about America is either on them, or about E.G. Marshall and Wesley Allen, who are pretty much the two U.S. military code breakers over the Pentagon. Yeah, those are pretty much the four main U.S. characters. Yeah, a lot of character actors in this movie. Because, all right, the whole story of this movie is it was probably one of the few like movies, at least that I know. I'm sure there's others, but this is probably one of the more notable ones, and I think possibly one of the first, or at least one of the first, maybe East meets West. But like, this is just a totally international production. Like, they actually had all the American scenes were actually filmed and produced by American filmmakers, while all the Japanese sequences were all filmed by Japanese producers and filmmakers. In fact, originally they were going to get Akira Kurosawa to do all the Japanese sequences, and he actually started out doing some stuff, but he was, I think he was doing, he's just at a time when Kurosawa was starting to get a little old and senile, but of course he still go on to make some damn good films, of course, but he was starting to get a little bit, I don't know, or maybe he's just always like this, I don't know, but he, because he was such a legend in Japan, actually no, he was actually, he was very behind schedule, taking his time, he was just not playing, because even though it was a joint production, Hollywood was people who kind of came up with this and were in charge of most of it. And Kurosawa was just taking his time, just not playing to their. I guess he was not being fast enough. I don't know what the whole deal was, but the Hollywood producers weren't up to or didn't think he was up to the standard, so they had to replace him, and that didn't go well because Japanese. He's very revered in Japan, Kurosawa, so they were on his side. So in the end, they had to get a couple of pretty much fresh out of film school Japanese directors to take a position. But honestly, it would be interesting what would have happened if Kurosawa had they let Kurosawa do his thing. If the movie probably wouldn't have come out like several years after the film came out, but it would have been interesting to see. But nonetheless, the movie we had was good. Like the two Japanese filmmakers. Actually, no, they were not They were not rookie filmmakers. They were actually veterans at that point. But they were definitely. Hold on, what's their names again? I know I love this movie, but I've never really done too much backstory. At least almost the backstory is on the U.S. stuff. Hold on. Toshio Masuda and Kenji Fukasaku. Yeah, they were actually they weren't like the American documentary I watched about this movie said they were both they were both rookies, but they're not rookies. They both did an interesting amount of stuff. They weren't quite ever as big as Kurosawa, but they did some cool stuff. While in all the U.S. sequences, directed by Richard Fleischer, Fleischer. He's done some cool stuff too. He's done a lot of stuff. This movie was a big hit in Japan, but it was not. It was a total box office bomb in the U.S. I think I may make this video 2 parts because I'm really starting to go long. So I'm gonna see if there's anything I put in part 1. The real life Minoru Genda. He was actually one of the few notable historical figures portrayed in the movie that actually was still alive when they were filming it. So he actually was he was technical advisor. So that was really cool because he was a senator in Japan at the time. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end part 1 here.